You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he dropped the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Welcome into STB Sports Take, Simply the Best Sports Podcast. I am your host, Sean Bingham. Thank you for joining us. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor Podcasts. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we are there. Please hit that subscribe button. Hope you all had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. I know I sure did. I went down to Florida, to Miami and Fort Lauderdale. My brother lives down there. One of my best friends lives down there. Went down to a place called Alligator Reef in the Keys. It's like 2.5 hours south of Miami into Isla Mirada. It's like south of Key Largo. I guess technically you're starting to go west really at that point because the Keys kind of curve over that way. But one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my entire life, like legitimately, and I've been to 47 countries and counting. I've like been scouring tropical areas for years and years and years. This is in Florida and it was incredible. So look it up, Alligator Reef. Some of the most beautiful water and sand you've ever seen in your life. It's like out in the middle of the water. And the sand is, of course, there's no beach. You're out in the water, but it's like a sand bar. So like at some spots I was even able to stand. It was really beautiful, really fun. Snorkeling, jumping off this, lighthouse tower thing, paddleboarding, just hanging out, vibing. It was really good. But more importantly down there, what did I do? I went to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Yes, that's right. I was there. And it was remarkable. I wish the Heat would have won just because the atmosphere was like so electric, as they were making that late comeback. They made several comebacks throughout the game. It was like they were down by a bunch and then they came back, and then they were down by a bunch and they came back. And it was kind of always they were never quite there until the very end. I was like, dang, we're within 2 points. I got to root for the home team. We're within 2 points with, what was it, 15, 16 seconds to go when Jimmy Butler took that would-be go-ahead three-pointer. That would have brought the house down. I think the stadium would have imploded had he made that. He didn't, though, unfortunately, and the Heat lose in 7. Very odd stat from that series. The home teams went 2-5 in that series. 2-5. Each team won one game at home, and they lost all the rest at home. So it was like home court disadvantage. So the Heat lose 3 games at home, win 1, and then they win 2 games on the road and lose 1. So they lose. It's very weird. And then, of course, the reverse for the Celtics. They win 3 games on the road and only 1 at home. Very, very weird. 2-5 were the home teams in that series. Very interesting. Never seen anything like it. I had said this going into that game. I had said that the Heat, a bunch of friends were asking me, and I had the same answer every time, and I've thought this throughout these playoffs. The Heat needed we knew Jimmy Butler was going to show up. He's emerged as a true superstar. He's a legitimate, bona fide superstar. Like his performance this postseason is nothing short of phenomenal. So he's a superstar. We knew he was showing up. The question mark was Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry. Those are their 3 next most important and best players for the Miami Heat. And I said, look, all 3 of them show up, no brainer, the Heat win. If you can just get 2 out of the 3 to show up, just 2. This is your 6th man of the year, averaging 21 points a game, shooting 43% or 40% from 3. Your former champion starting point guard, former All-Star Kyle Lowry, who you're paying big bucks to. Your current All-Star Bam Adebayo, who's a 19-11 guy, 19-10 guy. Just need 2 of those 3 guys to show up and just do what they do. Not even show up like it's some role player needing to play out of his mind. I'm talking like just show up and do your job. Do what you are getting paid to do. Do what you have been doing all season long. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing new, nothing different, nothing extraordinary. Just hit your season averages. We just need 2 of you 3 to hit your season averages. And they couldn't do it. Bam Adebayo showed up. He missed a bunch of little bunnies. I mean, Bam Adebayo missed so many little gimmies. But he still ended up with a good game, and I actually don't have the stat sheet pulled up in front of me. I'm going to do that right now while I'm talking. But Bam Adebayo had a really good game, when all was said and done. But he could have had a phenomenal game. He could have gone from like a B-plus type game to an A-plus if he just hit there were 4 or 5, 6-footers where I'm like, dude, you are getting paid millions of dollars. You're 6'10" or whatever you are. The basket's 5 feet away. Just put it in there. And, he had, like I say, 4 or 5 of those. I mean, that's the difference of 8-10 points. And so that was unfortunate. But okay, so let me pull up the box score here. Hero, of course, didn't play. I mean, he went in for a little bit. He hadn't played at all in the previous 2 games. Had left early the game prior to that, so they really didn't have Hero for like 3.5 of these games. He came in for a little bit. Me and my buddy Garrett, who I went to the game with, we noticed that in pregame warmups he was wearing a hoodie, and we're like, well, he's out there moving around in a way that you would not be moving around if you weren't going to play. He was in defensive stance. He was really moving pretty significantly, and it was with another player, not with a trainer. And so I was like, he's going to play. Like, he's playing. Like, we got there really early, by the way. I met Jalen Rose, gave him a fist bump. It was cool. But we knew he was going to play, and I thought, well, let's just see how effective he is. Groin's a tough thing. And it had only been like, I kind of strained my groin, I don't know, 6 months ago or so. And it took like 3 months for me to feel normal. Now, I'm not, an NBA athlete, and I don't have the trainers that they have. I don't put the time and effort into rehabilitation like they do. But still, like, it took months for me. And so I was like, this is pretty quick. It's been like a week for him, And he went and played, and it didn't go well. And so that was that, right? But I'm pulling up the game here. There we are. Okay, so box score. So Hero's pretty much a non-factor. Bam does show up. So Bam ends up going 12 of 21, 11 rebounds, 25 points. Like, that's what you needed from him. That was what you needed from Bam. So Bam showed up. So you get 1 out of 3. So Jimmy Butler showed up. He balled out, had 35 and 9. So he did what we knew he was going to do. Bam Adebayo shows up. So now it's like, okay, we just need Kyle Lowry or Tyler Hero to show up. Hero played 7 minutes, didn't score. He was a total non-factor. He was a liability on defense. They were trying to hide him on defense in like this weird, it looked like a 3-2 zone actually. And which would make sense against, more of a perimeter team. They've got good shooters. They've got really powerful slashing wings. But they were trying to hide Tyler Hero in this zone defense, and it just wasn't going to work. And so they quickly pulled him and just went a different route. So they put in Oladipo. Oladipo was a plus 16 on the game, which is very significant. But the dude shot 4 of 12, 1 of 7 from 3. Like, defensively, he's good. Offensively, it's like we just keep waiting for that Victor Oladipo of old to reappear and be the all-star caliber scorer that he once was. And he's just not yet. Maybe he will be, but he definitely has not been with the Heat. 4 of 12, 9 points. So, Hero didn't show up and his replacement didn't show up. And so he's definitely now out. So now it comes down to Kyle Lowry. What's Kyle Lowry going to do? Well, he was 1 of 6 from 3, 4 of 12 from the field. He ended up with 15 points and 3 assists. 3 assists from your starting point guard. And so you look at this, and it's like they just didn't – the fact that they only lost by 4 is mind-blowing. That shouldn't have even been that close. It really wasn't that close. They just made some really powerful runs in spurts, particularly there at the end, to make it really close. And it was just too little too late. They shot horribly from 3. They shot horribly from the free throw line, which was ironic because the game before, in Game 6, like both teams were like, a combined like 42 of 43 or something crazy like that, right? I don't remember the exact number, but I think they legitimately, between the two teams, I think there was only 1 or 2 free throws missed last game, and it was like 40 plus attempts. This game, the Heat shot 67% from the free throw line, not from the field, which would have been really good, but from the free throw line. I mean, you got to be at least like 75 plus as a team, right? They were not. And then they were 6 of 30 on their home court from 3. 6 of 30. So Lowry again, 1 of 6. Max Strus, 2 of 7. PJ Tucker, 0 of 2. Both of which were his like bread and butter from the corner. He's going to hit that. No, he's not. They had to yank him. He was a minus 16. PJ Tucker was worst on the team. And he only played 17 minutes. He was not getting it done. They had to pull him. Tightened rotation. They really only played 7 guys. Hero was an 8th, but he only played 7 minutes. Jimmy Butler played all 48. Bam Adebayo played 46. Lowry 39. And Max Strus, undrafted Max Strus, played 35 minutes. And was one of only 2 players on the Heat to post a positive plus-minus. He was +4. And an interesting thing about Max Strus. So this was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced at a game, bar none, okay? The Heat have made a little bit of a run, a little bit of a comeback. It's in the third quarter, and they had fallen behind by like double figures again, like 13 or something. They start to like come back, and during a timeout, they say the 3-pointer by Max Strus at the 10:03 mark or 11:0 whatever mark has been waved off. And you watch the scoreboard go, I think it went from 9 to 12. And I was like, dude, like this little run that we thought we just made just got evaporated 50% of it, because I think it was like a 6-0 run. And that's a big deal, right? And then it just evaporated into thin air. Minutes. It was 2.5 game minutes, 10 actual lifetime minutes, okay? So actual game clock had ticked down 2.5, almost 3 full minutes. And in actual time, like commercial break, whatever they're doing, timeouts, free throws, 10 minutes had gone by. And they called off and waved off a 3-pointer? What? I've never seen that in my entire life. I don't know how they explained it on TV. I was wondering when it happened. I'm like, look at her. I'm talking to my friend. I'm talking to people around me. I'm like, am I hearing this right? Like, are we just getting the notification late in the stadium? Like, which is ironic, that we'd get it late. We're in the stadium. But like, did they just not communicate it over the PA? Like, did they communicate it to the teams and then communicate it, to the broadcasting networks? So does everybody know, but like us 20,000 people that are here in the stands? Does everybody know that this was waved off? Well, it turns out no. That's actually how they did it. They waited 2.5 game minutes. I don't know how that's even legal. Like, NBA, please, anybody that can get this message to the NBA, you can't do that. You cannot go back in time 2.5 game minutes and redact a 3-pointer. Which, by the way, it was not conclusive that his foot was out of bounds. You look, and his heel, to me, looks like it's still hovering above the line. It has crossed the line, but that's not out of bounds. Out of bounds means you have to be touching the floor out of bounds. And it looked to me like he was still hovering above the out of bounds line. So it wasn't conclusive at all. So A, it's minutes later, several game minutes later. B, it's not conclusive. And so to me, I'm looking at that, I'm like, this is the weirdest thing ever. Like, I don't know how this is legal. It changes the entire course of the game. Like, that's like a team in football being in victory formation. Like, they're kneeling the ball down, right? They're ahead, okay? Say they just got a 2-point conversion possession prior, right? So now like another 3 minutes of game time has gone by. They forced a punt, or maybe they got an interception, okay? Now they're in victory formation, and they won by 1 point, right? And then 3 minutes goes by, and as they're kneeling it down, okay, kneel it down, their strategy now is just to run out clock because they've won, right? And then they say, hey, you know what? We actually just looked at that 2-point conversion closer. So this guy in another state on a TV screen, he looked at it, and it turns out we missed that. And so we're actually taking that 2-point conversion away because he stepped out of bounds before he crossed the goal line. And so you better run a play real quick because you're actually losing now. You can't do that. Like, it changes the entire course of the game. You can't go back in time and like change history. I honestly am dumbfounded at how they were willing and able to do that. I don't get it. I don't know why more people aren't putting up a fuss about it. Spoelstra was like pretty cool about it afterwards. Now, I get it. If it's like immediately after, I know they review threes at like the next time out. This was 3 minutes later in NBA, or not NBA Finals, but Eastern Conference Finals Game 7. 3 minutes later in the second half. Like, this was a huge deal. This changed the course of the game. It just did. It went from like, we're making a run to like the air left the stadium. We're not making a run. We're actually still down double digits. And so, to me, I can't believe it's possible. They have to change that rule. There has to be like some sort of like, hey, you know what? If it takes you more than 30 seconds of game clock, because right when it happens, you've got 30 seconds before the game even gets back in play usually, right? 10, 15 seconds. If more than 30 seconds goes by and you can't come to a determination with whoever's looking at that, in another state, then that's it. It's over. Like, put a timer on. We're not going to change the course of this game by going back in time and saying that something did or did not count. Are they going to go back in time and make things? Are they going to add points? Is that what's next? hey, you know what? It turns out he wasn't out of bounds on that one that we called out of bounds. And when he shot it after the whistle, but like it should have counted. Or he shot it, he was in the motion of shooting at, you can't do that. Like you can't change the course of the game. Anyway, I just couldn't believe that. I'm very frustrated by it, actually. Like, I don't know that it would have changed the outcome or not, but I know that you can't do that. Like, you cannot go back in time and do that. It's so stupid. So NBA, if you're a player, a coach, please, I'm right. Complain to whoever you need to complain to, Adam Silver. Get that rule changed. It's ridiculous. Okay, moving on. So that was that game. Jimmy Butler's pull-up three. I want to talk about that. Should he have taken that pull-up three? I think no. So I was behind the hoop that he was coming towards. So I was, the Heat's offensive hoop. The second half is where I was sitting. And when we got that rebound, I'm saying we like I'm some diehard Heat fan. I'm not. I like the Heat. I was there rooting for them. They were the home team. I had predicted them to win in 7. I had a lot of reasons to root for the Heat. Ultimately, I didn't care. I just wanted to see a good game, which I got. But anyway, so they're driving down. They get a rebound. They're down 2 because Max Strus hits a phenomenal 3, like this total clutch. This guy's gonna make a ton of money. Question is, will he be like another Duncan Robinson? Duncan Robinson got a bunch of money, and now they don't even play him. But Max Strus hits this like mega clutch 3-pointer to pull within 2, and then another stop by the Heat, and now they're driving back down towards my end of the court. And the Celtics do get back in good defense. It wasn't like it was transition. It was certainly not like some sort of fast break. It wasn't even like a 3-on-2 or anything like that. It was good transition defense, and Al Horford kind of sagged back in, almost daring Jimmy Butler to shoot it, and Jimmy Butler took the bait. Jimmy Butler's not a 3-point shooter. That's not his game. That's not his skill set. He did hit a transition 3 earlier in the game in the first half, but he's just not a 3-point shooter. He is your best player. I get that. But to me, what he's best at and what he did to get them back into this game and to put up his 41 points in Game 6 and 35 in Game 7 was drive the basketball. Drive the basketball. Attack them with all you've got. Now, again, he's in minute 48 of a 48-minute game where he has not sat out at all. So maybe he's gassed. Maybe he's tired. But, dude, you've got a chance to go one-on-one against Al Horford. You're either going to get by him or you're going to draw a foul. One of those two things is happening. Jimmy Butler in transition on Al Horford. Al Horford's a great defender, but in transition, full head of steam, Jimmy Butler's getting by him or he's drawing a foul. And so I was very surprised that Jimmy Butler pulled up for 3, and I was disappointed because when he missed it, that was it. Like, it felt like a poor decision, and there were people all around me that are obsessed with Jimmy Butler there in Miami. They love him. But they were like, why did he do that? Why did he shoot that? Like, it was the wrong move. It was the wrong move. I know it's easy to be what do they call it? Like a armchair quarterback or whatever. Like, it's easy for us in hindsight and having not been there in the moment. Actually, I was there in the moment, but not on the court. It's easy for us to look at in hindsight, but in the moment, that's what Jimmy Butler wanted to do, and that's what he did. But it was the wrong decision. It just was. And his skill set does not lend to that. And the situation, they only needed 2 to tie. You're at home. Momentum's going your way. Overtime seems like a good thing. And honestly, even then, like, there's still 15 seconds left. Like, the game's not over. But to me, they should have gone for the tie. He should have gone right at Al Horford with everything he had, attacked just attack the rim, like right at the rim, and either draw the foul or blow by him and get the layup. So to me, that was a mistake. But anyway, best of luck to the Celtics. Great series, really fun to watch. Lots of blowouts that were not so fun, but I love that it went 7 games, and the Game 7 was really close, and that I got to be there. That was really cool. By the way, I was on SportsCenter, just in the background like an idiot, waving, and stuff. I did like a bow to the camera. Anyway, okay, so moving on. Finals prediction. Got to talk about this. This is an interesting one. The NBA Finals, right? We've got the Celtics and the Warriors, and you could look at this one of 2 ways. One way is you could say, look, this is like a changing of the guard. We get it. The Warriors have been there, done that. They're the old experienced team with championship pedigree and blah, blah, blah. But they're old. Just like we said, old and experienced, emphasis on old, right? You could look at it that way. Like this is like when Jordan overcame the Pistons and the Celtics and the Lakers to win his first title, right? He finally got past the bad boy Pistons. And then he meets Magic Johnson, 5-time champion in the finals, beats him. It's because it was his time to take that title from them, to take the throne from them. So you could look at it like that for the Celtics, right? Like they're on the rise, Warriors are on the way out. Both of those things are true. It's just where on that spectrum are they, right? So the other side of that coin would be, this is like when Jordan was trying. He was there knocking at the door of the Celtics and the Heat and the Pistons, but never quite able to knock the door down. And they would get the better of him until he got a little bit older. They got a little bit older. He came more into a solid prime. They fell more out of a solid prime, and the roles reversed. And so you could look at it either of those two ways. For me, I look at it as the Warriors are still the better team. They are still enough in their prime that they will win this series. I also think the Warriors are as hungry for this game or this series as they have been for any series in the finals that they've ever played, including their first one. They have so much to prove post Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant came, got them 2 of the 3 that they have. He was finals MVP for both of those championships. You don't think these guys have a chip on their shoulder? He then leaves, which we're going to talk about this. Kevin Durant leaves to go form his own little super team with Kyrie Irving, who left the Celtics. And ironically, the Nets, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, they get swept in the first round by none other than the Celtics. And then you see Golden State back in the finals. So the 2 teams that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving left are facing each other in the finals without them, while those guys got swept in the first round and are sitting at home. Very interesting stuff. But the Warriors have so much to prove. Steph Curry does not have a finals MVP. He only has 1 title without Kevin Durant. Draymond, Clay, Steve Kerr, they have 1 title without Kevin Durant. They are as hungry as ever. They were counted out the last 2 years. They were counted out kind of for good because of injuries to Klay Thompson and the departure of Kevin Durant. I think they're as hungry for this one as they have ever been for any of their title runs. And I think the talent is still there. I think the experience and the leadership is superior to that of the Celtics. I think the talent is slightly superior to that of the Celtics. They have home court advantage over the Celtics, although the Celtics have proven to be very good on the road. They just won 3 out of 4 in Miami. And then on top of that, you have the emergence of Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins and Kevon Looney. To me, the Warriors, like across the board, everything tells me the Warriors will win this series. I don't know if it'll go 5 or 6 or 7. I don't think it'll be a sweep. I don't think it'll go 7 either, though. How about that? So I'm going to say the Warriors in 5 or 6. And if it's always difficult to clinch on someone else's court, but I'm going to say the Warriors, maybe the Warriors in 5. I don't know. But the Warriors are winning this series. I'll say that, and I'll lean towards 5. I'll be able to do one more podcast. I guess they'll have played 2 games by the time they do our next podcast. But the Warriors will win game 1, and then we'll see what happens from there. But I'm thinking the Warriors win this series. So that's that. The last thing I want to touch on, actually two or 3 more things, but 2 of them are quick. What I saw a debate this morning. I like to watch the debate shows, and they were talking about what this series means for Steph Curry's legacy. And, players always want to act like it means nothing, like his legacy is cemented. And former players, are included in that list of players want to believe this. And it's just not true. Like, sure, his legacy is cemented as like a great player, one of the all-time greats. But he's looking at an upper echelon that he wants to be in and that he's very close to being in. I've got him as like my 1A, 1B all-time point guard with Magic Johnson. I personally would take Steph over Magic, but if you actually compare their numbers side by side, compare their achievements side by side, Magic definitely has him beat. The only thing Steph, very undeniably does better is shoot the ball and score. Assists, rebounds, championships, MVPs, everything. Magic Johnson is quite a ways ahead of Steph Curry. But my eye test and everything tells me that Steph Curry is the better player. He needs the accolades a little bit more to back it up. no finals MVP. In fact, he actually has a history of regressing a little bit in big moments, especially on the biggest stage of the NBA Finals. He'll average 25 or so, but he averages 30 in the regular season. He'll shoot 35% from three. Well, he shoots 45% in the regular season. So the GOATs, the true mega superstar GOATs, their numbers and their performance goes up in big moments, in the playoffs and in the finals. Steph's have come down. So to me, this has a huge impact on his legacy, and I am rooting for him because to me, he is one of the all-time greatest players, and he is 1A or 1B point guard with Magic Johnson. If he wins a fourth title and is finals MVP, and deservedly so, of that finals, and shoots 40+% from three and averages 30+ per game, and they win the series and he wins the MVP, to me, that would cement him as the 1A. For me, in my book, many people will say he still has a ways to go to beat Magic Johnson. But in my book, that would cement him as the greatest point guard of all time. He has 2 regular season MVPs. He's the greatest shooter we've ever seen by a long shot. He's the best scoring point guard we've ever seen. I think he has the best ball handling skills we've ever seen. He's up there among them anyway. He has 3 rings. You could argue he should have gotten 1 MVP of the finals. His legacy is very, very solid as it is, but to pretend like it doesn't matter is just not true. 2 of his 3 rings, he had Kevin Durant. He was never MVP of a finals. So this matters big time for Steph Curry's legacy. It really, really does. Okay. 2 last things that are both really, really quick, just kind of fun things I wanted to mention. Today is actually the 4-year anniversary of Game 1 of the NBA Finals in 2018, when LeBron James went for 51-8-8, and they nearly stole Game 1 at Golden State. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry led Golden State, and J.R. Smith has the blunder where he gets the rebound and goes to dribble the clock out or avoid getting fouled when they needed to score. It was tied, and a putback wins it, and they steal Game 1. And instead, he dribbles around, and it goes into overtime, and they lose. And, of course, they lose that series. They were greatly outmatched in that series. But you steal Game 1, and all of a sudden it's dang, anything can happen, right? But no, J.R. Smith makes the most boneheaded move in the history of sports that I've seen live. It's the biggest stage, biggest moment of your life, and you don't know the score. It's pretty embarrassing. That was 4 years ago today. Last thing, NBA is on the rise. The list came out of the most valuable franchises in all of sports in the world, and the top 5 are all American teams, surpassing the Real Madrids and Manchester Uniteds. So number 1 on the list is the Dallas Cowboys at $6.5 billion. Number 2 is the Yankees at $6 billion. I don't know how baseball is doing it. Regular season baseball is so boring. I don't know how they're doing it. I love the playoffs, but regular season, you can miss me on that. Number 3 was the Knicks, $5.8 billion. Number 4, Golden State Warriors, $5.6 billion. Number 5, the Lakers, $5.5 billion. Bunch of NBA teams were in there. Bunch of NFL teams were in there. By the way, the Washington Commanders are still somehow the 6th most valuable NFL franchise. They used to be number 1. It's been a decade since then. But still the 6th most valuable franchise. That team has a fan base that's loyal. The Commanders got to start winning. They've got to. But yeah, interesting. 3 of the top 5 are NBA teams in all the world. 3 of the top 5 most valuable sports franchises on the whole planet are in the NBA. I thought that was interesting. That is all the time I have for today, you guys. Please hit that subscribe button. Please share this with others. I am out. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out stbsportstake.com. Simply the best in sports.